these due to some formatting issues. The last week's webinars have not yet been uploaded, but they will be soon, along with this one, to the YouTube page. So if you go to youtube.com, search MyRacePass. Very soon here, you'll be able to see last week's webinars along with this one, and then of course tonight and then Wednesday as well. So I definitely encourage you to do that if you want to go back and review anything like that. Again, this is recorded, so if you want to review or we want to check back in, definitely do so. You can do so on YouTube, and we'll just kind of jump right in here and we'll get started. The first thing that we want to do here is I'll share my screen. The first thing we're going to cover is creating and configuring a new season in season management. So give me one moment here. Get that screen shared. There we go. Perfect. So we're going to do all of the testing on your favorite track. That's a demo site that we've got here in the back end, but it's a complete copy of everything that you'll see on the front end of your sites as well. There's a messaging box. So if you have any questions throughout the course of the webinar, type it into the messaging box, and I will come to it as I can. Or potentially, at the end of the webinar. Either way, we'll get your questions. You'll get your questions answered as they can come in. In terms of creating and configuring a new season in season management, we'll go directly to season management first here. And in order to create a new season, you just click on the current season that you're looking at. You can see historical data for all of the previous seasons that you've had. And you can click New Season at the bottom of that list. So we'll click on New Season. And we can put in our season information. So my season is going to be for 2021, this current year. We'll leave it as the entire length of the year for scheduling purposes. If you are completing tonight's webinar in reference to or in association with the required webinars as decided by WSOTA, you want to make sure you stick around for the end. 2021 season already exists. Okay, of course it does. So I guess it will go to 2023 because I already have a 2021 season. That's where you would go right here. Put in your season that way. And when you put in your season, it will take you directly to your configuration tab. So again, for WSOTA folks, stay until the end. We'll have a little message for you to confirm that you were able to attend here tonight if you're a WSOTA track. So once you've put in your new season, 2023 we'll do. We'll come here to configuration first. These are the initial setup steps for putting in a new season. So this is the first place you'll go. This is the first place you'll come to, and this is the information that you want to make sure you have before you do anything else. The first thing that you'll see is for season tracks. If you're a racetrack, your track will be listed by default. You don't need to put anything else in there. If you're with a series, your series will be listed in season series, and then you would just put in all of the racetracks that you're going to be racing at. Because we're doing this with a racetrack, we'll do it as a racetrack. So we'll add in any series that we're going to go to. So you basically will type in or select any series that you want to have listed. By default, in this My Series window, all the series that you've selected in past years will show up first to make it easier for you to find them. But you can always go in and search all series here and type in, whatever you'd like to do for who's ever coming. There's a lot of different series options, so just make sure that you know what you're looking for and you've researched a little bit what each series is to make sure that you're selecting the right one. But we're going to go right back here to, whoops, that's not what I want to do. We'll go back here to My Series, and I'll just add in our test series as well here. You can see that this series is linked to a specific class, in this case, Sport Compacts. So we'll add that class, and so it'll automatically add that class as well. And then, of course, you'll come into Season Classes and add in here all of the classes that you're going to be running throughout the course of the season, because these are the options that you'll have to choose from when it comes to creating events later on. So you want to make sure that you got all of your class listed here. If you're a sanctioned track, so you're sanctioned through IMCA or WSOTA or USRA or Crate Racing USA or something like that, we have special classes built in to meet those sanctioning requirements. So if you click down here to more classes, again, my classes will show you all the classes that you selected in the past first. If you come down to season classes, you can select by season the classes that you've had in. Or you can also select, sanctioned classes here. Sanctioned classes, again, if you're WISSOTA, IMCA, USRA, Crate Racing USA, any of these basically, you'll come in here and you'll select these classes. So we'll select WISSOTA here first. And add in the WISSOTA sanctioned class. So if your classes are not sanctioned by that sanctioning body, pick the generic version of the class. If they are sanctioned, if you want to make sure that you select the sanctioned class. The reason for that is when you select the sanctioned class, it sends a notification to that sanctioning body and approves that class for that race night. For things like, national points or regional points or whatever else, or making sure the drivers have the required licensing or things of that nature. So you want to make sure you do that here as well. If you're adding in, any specific sanctioned classes. So we'll just leave it as Sport Compacts here. So we've got our season created up here again. We've created our new season for our new year. For you guys creating a season, obviously it'll be 2021, not 2023. We just have too many in here for testing purposes. Added our series that we're going to race. Added our classes that we're going to race. And then we'll save that. All that information is saved. Then the next thing that we can do is we can jump down here to events. And we can start adding events to our schedule. So we'll add our schedule first. We'll have an overarching your favorite track schedule. All of that will be active and all of those things. Okay, we'll go through this a little bit more closely after we add events to our original schedule, but we're also going to talk about having multiple schedules in the same season. I would always, use this as a way to decide here. If you're going to have multiple points championships that you're going to calculate throughout the course of the same season, or if you have multiple needs for different point structures, that's what I would use multiple seasons for. So if in your, if you're in your main season, you're also going to have like a 4-race schedule that's going to be its own, different set of points or whatever else, use that, or a speed week, or if you have like a big 3 or 4 day event and you're going to, line up the third day based on the points of the preliminary nights, that's its own schedule as well. You can make those schedules active or inactive, depending on if you want fans to be able to see that schedule on the website or on your website, or on the app. If it's inactive and the fans can't see that that's a separate schedule, it'll still calculate the points and do what you need it to do. It just won't be visible as a separate schedule for your fans if you want it to be part of your main schedule. That way you can do it that way. So we'll go through here. We've added our first schedule. When we go into this editing window, you can see a couple of different things for this first schedule. First off, downloads. If you want to post, a PDF of rules or something like that. If you set your 2021 season up for January 1 through December 31, but find out in October you need to add a Winter Series points that start December through February, can you go back and change the ending date? Yes. You will be able to go back and edit the dates, and even though it's titled 2021, you can edit it into the next year. Plenty of tracks like California and Florida in the South that have that, where they have a schedule in a certain year, and then they go over top of the new year, stuff like that. Actually, in Australia too. So yeah, that's not an issue. Downloads would be if you have like a point structure or any kind of PDF that you want to people to see as part of that schedule. You can add it to downloads there. And then you can add an advanced championship calculation. I'll click on that here quickly to kind of show you what that does. An advanced championship calculation, if we're going to add a new rule set, what that will basically do is it will allow you to take the competitor. If you have like 15 races in a season and you only want their top 10 points nights to be a part of the points calculation right there, so their worst 5 shows won't. You can also do it the opposite way. You can drop your last 3, your last 5, or whatever else. You can select this option to calculate rookie points. If you want to have some kind of points multiplier night, you can do that here. Or you can also have like a seniors only points calculation as well, and do it that way. We got another one here. Can you take out a special event from your schedule to make it its own schedule without taking away registrations already tied to that special event? Yes. Registrations are tied season long as opposed to just the individual schedules. I know the nomenclature on that can be a bit confusing. Your season is your overarching year. Your schedules you can build into that season. Because registrations are tied to the season level, regardless of what schedule they're a part of. The registration information will always exist and will always be right there for you. And it doesn't matter if you change the event around to be a part of different schedules; it'll still be tied to that same registration. That's advanced championship calculation. If the advanced championship calculation is something that you feel like you need for your tracker series, that's something that's only available on one of our higher plans on the partner plan. So you want to get a hold of us or get a hold of Chris Krug and let him know that, hey, I need this advanced championship calculation, and he can get you into the right plan to meet your needs there. Just as a heads up, though, if you have a plus plan and you decide you want this, we're going to have to move you up to a different plan to be able to have access to the advanced points championships. Moving forward from there, so this is our schedule. This is the information for the schedule. Now, obviously, if we want to add events, we have 0 total events now, so we can start adding the events here. It defaulted to the dates for the schedule, but I'll go through here and add them. If our schedule is going to start in the wintertime, we're going to have this many events be a part of our schedule. Perfect. So we've clicked on all the dates that are going to be in our schedule. We'll click next here. The pit times, you obviously put in here one at a time the first time, but then these are sticky. So if you put in the pit times and the gates times and all those things, you put them in the first time, and then they are sticky the rest of the way, which means that after you add the first event, it'll remember what you put in here for classes and for all the times and things of that nature. I'll kind of show you an example of that. So you name the event, whatever you want to name it, that's what'll show up on your schedule. If you see this additional details box, you type in everything there that you want to be, basically you want your fans to know about the event. If they click on that event in the app or they click on the title of that event to your website, that's what they'll see as the description. So if you've got like Carnival coming that night or whatever you want to use as an example as some kind of special description for the event, you put that right in there. That's where fans will see it. You select all the classes. If I would have had more classes in season management, you would see more classes here, and you can select what you want to be a part of. But we'll go add and next. And you'll be able to see, okay, the times all stayed what they wanted before. Now, they're still editable, so I can change this if I want to be whatever I want it to be, but it's all still editable right there for you. We'll just go through all of these. You can see if you're putting in just a regular weekly schedule here, or even adding in a special event where you're selecting different classes or stuff, you can get through and adding all of the events to your schedule pretty quickly as you're going through this. I hope I didn't mess my numbering up here. You can get through adding, 10, 11, 12 shows pretty darn quickly here. I think I just did. I think I just messed up my numbering. That's okay. We can go back and edit that later. Maybe I didn't. There we go. So I've added 12 events here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Hey, I can count to 12 while talking. Look at that. If I did need to go in and change anything, you can go in and edit that right there. You can edit when pits and gates and all the times, the descriptions. You can add online tickets here. We'll cover online tickets in another session here. Actually, I believe online tickets will cover on the Wednesday session. So if you tune in at this time, Wednesday, 5:30 Central, we'll go through online tickets there. But you can add online tickets. You can adjust your classes, edit your classes, make them active or inactive, and add to whatever schedule you want to be a part of there as well. So you can do a lot of things here right from the screen. Save those changes there. Perfect. Cool. So we've got all 12 of our events put in. Awesome. That's the process of adding events. It goes super fast. It goes super smooth. There's not a lot to it, and it makes it really seamless and fast that you can do that right on. You can add that right to your website here. I want to show you a couple of other options that we've got when you're actually looking at one of your schedules. You can see the active button here. If you make it inactive, you can come back and edit it and make it active later on. But if you've got a situation where you've got a website through us, You can come in here and create your schedule, put in all the information for your schedule. But if you don't want to actually release that to the public for another week or till a specific date or whatever, you come in here and do all the work that you want to do and add everything and just make it inactive until that release date. And then, you come back, edit it again, make it active. There you've got, now you can couple that with a press release or something like that, and make a big event out of it in the off season. Pull stats. There's really no reason to turn that off. It pulls stats and sends it across the MyRacePass network for your events. I've not seen a situation where that's been turned off. It really even shouldn't be an option. Just leave it checked. And then allow fantasy leaderboards. If that's checked, and by default it is checked, if you allow fantasy leaderboards, you'll be able, basically what that'll do is for every class that you're running throughout that schedule that we've got selected here, MyRacePass in MRP Fantasy, which we'll go through at the end of this, will create a fantasy leaderboard on the first race night and allow your fans to have, basically think of it as like a running point standing the entire season for your fans. So if you've got a schedule starting in July going through March, you allow the MRP or the fantasy leaderboards for that at the end of March at your final event. It'll tally up all those points for your fans, and they'll have their own fantasy champion as well. You'll also have a fantasy leaderboard for each individual event for everything that you run. And you can add prizes there as well. And I'll show you how to add prizes later on. It's pretty slick and pretty easy. And I think it'll end up being a really good thing for folks too, as you can get more fans more involved with the drivers and with your race night than you had before, and you can use that as a stream of revenue as well. We'll go through the process of adding a second schedule here. So in this case, since I did this for 2 months, I'm going to add that second schedule. I don't have any events that are a part of that second schedule right now. You can do this one of two ways. You can click 0 total events, and you can add events, and you can add a brand new list of events for that special schedule through the same process that we just did. That's how most folks do it. But you can also go back to your original schedule. And if I took all of these February events, no, I don't want to select all. Woohoo. If I just selected these February events right here, I can add them to a second schedule just like that. So if you still want to go through and add all of your events at the same time, now those events in February are going to calculate points for our overall track schedule, and they're also going to calculate points for the February special point standings that we did here as well. So you can have, and if you have multiple schedules, and I'll use something like the USCS sprint cars in the South for an example. They've got their main schedule that they run, their national tour points throughout the course of the year, the regular USCS sprint car series. And then they've also got a mid-Ohio region, and they got a South Florida region, and they got all these different regions. So you can actually have one event be part of one schedule or multiple schedules, calculating points for one of those events or multiple schedules, multiple point standings. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do that, and it's kind of nice. The way that this will work on a website, if you've got a website through us, and again, I'll use ASCS, I guess, as an example here. If you go to the schedules results tab for ASCS, you'll see that there's ASCS National Tour, ASCS Red River Region. It'll basically show each and every single one of these schedules, in a line basically, and you can reorder them. So if you want, the special schedule to show on top, you can reorder them that way. But you can have one event that's part of one region and also part of your main points. You can have one event that's not a part of your main points, but it's just a part of the special schedule. Wherever you want that event to calculate points for, that's the schedule you make it a part of, and it's easy to add and remove. So, I mean, if I wanted to come to this January one, I wanted to add it to one schedule or another schedule or whatever else, I just add right here. Makes it really slick, makes it really easy as well. So that's pretty slick and that's pretty easy. Do we have any questions, I guess, before we move on in terms of creating and configuring a new season or multiple schedules or how those things work? And if you do have one right now as I ask, you can feel free to unmute yourself and shout it out. We got one from Brian Neal. After you finish adding events to your schedule, and a week or so later you need to move or remove a date from the schedule. How's that done? You would just do it as a status here. So if this event's running as scheduled, if I wanted to change that status, I would just change this one to canceled or postponed or dropped or whatever else. And if you wanted it to no longer show at all, you can just discard right here. That'll remove it from any schedule that you've got. Or if you come down here, you can remove it from this schedule. And if you remove it from all the schedules, that event will be gone. And then it's just a matter of adding a new one, if that makes sense, Brian. If you're going to have specific points for if you're going to have a certain events that are non-points, I wouldn't create a second schedule for that. At the end of the night, when you're calculating points and pay through race management, I just wouldn't apply those points to any schedule, and that would be a non-points night. So so this is only if you have multiple points calculations at the same time. If you have a non-points night, just don't make it part of any schedule, basically, when you're calculating points and pay. And I'll show you that when we go through race management. Yes, if you don't apply points, then it will not it won't affect the point average. So if you're running 4 shows in a row and the second one you don't add a points tally at all, then your points average will be point night 1, 3, and 4, if that makes sense. It just won't be included any point average at all. Cool. Okay. Well, then we'll move forward here. We'll jump into registrations next. We've covered this a couple of times already, but it's something I definitely want to hit on as often as I possibly can through these webinars. So I'm going to be repeating myself a little bit if you've been in any of the previous ones. But we really, really want drivers to register in advance because it makes things so much faster at the back gate, so much easier at the back gate in terms of gathering address information, owner information, phone numbers, emergency contacts, all that stuff. I mean, if you have to stand there at the back gate, make them fill out paper, ask those questions over and over again, every driver is going to be there for 15, 20 minutes. Whereas if they do it through registration, it takes them all 3 to 5 minutes at the very most and makes opening night go way faster. So I want to show you these things here. There's 3 different registration types you can look at. There's an annual registration. So if you're just making your drivers register one time for the entire season, that's what you would use. There's an event-specific registration, which was referenced earlier tonight. So if you want drivers to register for each individual event, you create a registration for every single event, or for one special event or something like that. Basically, this registration ties to a specific event. And then a general registration, which we have keyed in here for a non-racing event, but we've seen that used for, like at Ogilvie Raceway, they park campers around turns 1 and 2. They'll have folks turn in a registration here regarding that. Or banquets, if you want to have a better idea of who's coming to your banquet and you want them to fill out that information online as opposed to through paper or through the mail or whatever. We've seen that used for banquets as well. So whatever idea comes to your head that's not a racing event here. We'll do an event-specific registration here to start. Click on events. Perfect. There we go. I'm going to select this one here. Ooh, what did I do here? It should be all right here. We'll do an annual registration to start. I think that because I'm so far into the future here, our calendar hasn't quite aligned with the event dates. I'll have to go back and look at that, but I'll just do a yearly registration here so you guys can see it. You can see here for the yearly registration, you can charge an entry fee. If you want to charge an entry fee to register, you can do so on a yearly or an event registration. So you could theoretically make people register twice. But we disperse those funds to you through PayPal. So the way that works is when they register at MyRacePass.com under your tracks profile, they'll pay the fee, we'll collect the fee, and then we'll send that to you via PayPal. So you have to have a PayPal account. and you have to send us the email address associated with the PayPal account before you make the registration live. As soon as we link those two things together, you make the registration live. Drivers can start paying you to register. The only thing that we say in that situation, or advise in that situation, is if you are going to use PayPal, when you open up the registration publicly, have somebody that you can use as a test or a demo, whether it's somebody that you know well or family member, or even just like a testing for yourself, to make sure that there aren't any blocks or holds on your PayPal account. PayPal doesn't do this all the time, but they do it sometimes for brand new accounts, especially if you're going to start funneling money into a brand new account right away. They'll actually put a hold on that account at first, and then you got a bunch of drivers calling you, hey, I'm trying to register, and it says I can't make the payment, what's going on here. So I definitely would advise you to do the first one just as a test, but that's how we disperse those funds to you. You can assign late fees, so if they don't register by the date that you want them to, it can be a little bit more, and you can say when it opens and closes. So we'll go ahead and add that. 2023, your favorite track registration. Additional information here is basically when a driver clicks on that registration on MyRacePass.com in your profile, this is the additional information that they'll see. Open, close, whatever else. We can add a class to the registration. And actually, every class that you've got in season management on that initial configuration screen that we went to will show up here. So you can make them all active. You can make only a handful of them active. And you can charge an additional price for each individual class as well. So if your sport compacts are $50 to register and your modifieds are $100 to register, you can make your entry fee initially $50 and then have a $50 additional price right here, an additional late fee and things of that nature. So those things are all pretty easy to look at. If you click the share button down here, you will link your Twitter and your Facebook accounts, and you can share the link to your registration to social media directly from here. Social media, having that link on social media makes it a lot easier for the drivers to be able to see it and be able to get there quickly, as opposed to you trying to share the full link every time. Just go right there, right to the social media, really fast and really easy. This online registration button will take you to your profile at MyRacePass.com so you can see the registration. Here it is. Here it is right here. I did not make this registration active yet, so there we go. Let me make it active. And there we go. 2023, your favorite track registration is right here. Kind of show you how easy this is for folks to register for, especially if you've already registered for things in the past. Susan, yes, there are a number of tracks that do it that way. The question is, if you don't have a PayPal account or don't want to sign up for a PayPal account, can you just have drivers pay you in person at the track? Yeah, you can. Make your registration $0 on MyRacePass, but when you share it to social media, just say you'll pay at the track whatever the amount is, and then they'll show up to the track and you'll have to chase down their money. If you feel like chasing down their money, you can do it that way if you want to. It's easier if they pay in advance, but you can do it however you'd like to do, whatever you'd like to do that way. But I'll show you kind of how fast this is. We're a sport compact. We're a new competitor at the racetrack. We're going to continue. These are the registrations that I've done previously. I can click on one to import the data. I can continue. And my registration is done. So I registered for that racetrack for the season in 30 seconds. I mean, if you'd rather spend 15 minutes at the back gate with them every single time, you can do it that way if you want to. You can get to know your drivers in a different way, I guess. But if you want to save that time, especially on opening night, I just registered in 30 seconds. You can get all your drivers to do that. That's great. And even beyond that, it works just the same on mobile. So if I take this screen and I take it down to this width, it's a responsive site, which means that it will it'll change based on the size of the screen. So if I want to do this on mobile, you can see exactly what it'll look like on mobile. All the information is right there. That's what it'll look like on a mobile device. So they can click the link from your Facebook page, do it on their phone. Where I announced that at Jackson Motorplex, we have so many drivers that register on their way to the track on opening night. Oh shoot, I forgot to register. Do it on the way to the track. Hopefully they got somebody else driving their hauler, because you shouldn't text and drive. But then they can do it that way. It makes it super fast and super easy. So we'll come back here to our favorite track, to the registration. I've got 2 pending registrations here, so you can duplicate register. So you know, it'll be up to you guys to make sure you don't confirm the one that you don't need. But I can go in here, I can confirm the registration. This process is a little bit important for you guys because this is tying a registration to a driver profile. It doesn't automatically do that. And the reason for that is that oftentimes there are drivers that are going to register that have never raced before, so we just wouldn't be able to tie it to a profile. But you get the registration in, type in the name of the competitor. You should be able to find the profile right there, the number that you want them to have, and in registration, we make them manually set their numbers. Mine's 23. There we go. Has all forms is a new feature that we just implemented just a couple months ago, really, in time for this coming season. The idea behind has all forms is there's going to be items that drivers will need to fill out in paper that we can't collect on MyRacePass. Things like tax information, social security numbers, pit registration, whatever else. This is just a yes/no checkbox. This is just a yes/no checkbox for has all forms. Did they turn them in? Yes. Did they turn them in? No. If you leave it unchecked, there'll be a red X when they enter. If you check it, there'll be a green check mark when they enter. We'll hit confirm. Perfect. And there we go. Sam, a couple questions here. Have you ever had to enter the birth date on a mobile device? Yes. By design, it brings up a calendar. That's actually a fairly new development as well. It was doing something different before, but it brings up a calendar. So they'll just, scroll through the calendar to find their birth date. They'll do it that way. And in terms of WSOTA or IMCA licenses, IMCA doesn't do this yet, but this may change in the future. WSOTA, USRA, or Crate Racing USA, you actually register with them, with the sanctioning body. They'll post their own registration outside of their tracks. And when you register with them, they'll assign you a hard card. It looks like this without the blue rubber band. MRP hard card. They'll assign every driver one. They'll mail it out to them. Now, IMCA doesn't do this yet. They just put it in the back end of the program that there's a registration that's been completed. So they have a license. They still send out their own licensing the other way. But WSOTA and USRA and Crate Racing USA have done away with sending out licenses. They'll send out this MRP hard card. If you have a ticket scanner at the track hooked up to your race management platform, you scan the hard card, boom, and it tells you that they've got a license. And that's all it is. They've replaced their licenses with these hard cards. So it makes it a lot easier for those guys when they register. There we go. We've got a registration in. So that's what it looks like. And it's pretty easy and pretty fast that way. I want to go through race management here. I'm going to do this fairly quickly as, we've got about a half hour left. So something we'll look at here. I've got a race management that's already been put in. So I'll kind of, I'll go through some of this information here. Here on the setup tab of a race night. So we're pretending tonight is May 1st, 2021, and we're running stock cars and WSOTA modifieds. So in the setup tab, there's only 2 options for you to select. That's basically for your pill draw options and your transponder options for each class. If everybody uses transponders, we're going to use transponders here. No rentals, allow rentals, or no transponders are the options. And then, of course, your pill draw options, you can have it automatically draw. And Gay, yes, we prefer that the driver registers at each track they're going to race at. But it's up to you guys as racetracks on what you want to do if you're going to require registration or not. So they don't have to be involved in MyRacePass, but it's going to be up to the track by track discretion. The pill draw options will automatically allow you to pill draw, or you can type in a manual entry, or it'll auto draw for them if they click the draw button. There's a lot of options there. We'll just go through the auto draw after driver selection, so it'll automatically generate a pill draw for them. And I'm just going to use the stock cars here. MRP Live is the third-party application that allows you to connect to your transponder computer, whether you use Orbitz or Race Manager. Again, we're going to have a more complete, indication as to more complete training on using MRP Live with Westhold and Race Manager. Those will come on a Wednesday, Wednesday the 10th, the early session, session 1, we'll go through Orbitz, and Wednesday the 10th, the late session at 7:30, we'll go through Race Manager. But this is basically the process of getting that connected. You put this code into MRP Live along with the IP address and port number from your live timing software, and it connects so you can send your lineups. And this API code, after it's connected, will be what you give your broadcasters. Like I said, we'll go through that in detail Wednesday night. As we go to entries, a lot of things you can do here for entries. If they've got one of those hard cards, you can click scan barcode here, put it in your barcode scanner. It'll click and it'll enter the driver information right there. You can also type in the number on the back of the hard card, as somebody had mentioned in the chat. So you can type in that number. Or there's other ways you can find your competitors as well. My competitors will show you a list of everybody who's raced at your track previously in previous seasons. So you can find all of your drivers there. Pre-entries, if anybody's pre-entered for that event specifically, they'll show up right here. By track, this is valuable if you're a series, if you're a traveling series and you filter to by track. This will show up a list of all the drivers that raced in your series last time you were at that track, and it works just as the inverse. If you click by series, everybody, if you're a racetrack, it'll show you everybody who's raced in that series last time they were at your track. And then last event, your most recent event, you can import from there as well. We'll just go right here, and we'll show you the process of putting in all this information. I'm going to use myself first here, just as an example. When I registered, I did not click has all forms, so this is an X. Although through previous registrations, my address is on file, I've claimed my profile, and if there is a registration through USRA or IMCA or Crate Racing USA or WSOTA, that information will show up here, so you can confirm memberships. So you'll be able to confirm, okay, this person has a USRA license or a WSOTA license. It'll show up right there for you. You can see it automatically drew my pill right there in the upper right. Pill number's there automatically. 23 will be the number. If there was a duplicate 23 and I was trying to add this for the second time, when I hit add, it would throw the red around the box. You'd have to put in something else there. So you can't have duplicate numbers. But if you put in something else, then you can set that as default if you want to. I'm going to leave my default as 23. Perfect. Owner information. If the driver is not collecting the payout, then that's the situation that we refer to somebody else as the car owner. Even if the driver, for whatever reasons, the owner of the car in technicality, if someone else is collecting the pay, then they're an owner. Click the search button here. All of that driver's previous owners will show up by default. If this is their first time racing with an owner, you'll just go to all owners and add the team right here, type in the owner information. But we'll just click that right here. Payout goes to owner, obvious checkbox right there. Okay, the owner's getting paid that night. And you can set as default if they're going to come back to your racetrack every single time racing for the same owner. Set that as default so the owner information shows up first every single time. Transponder numbers works just the same way. If you're renting transponders, this is where you type it in. If the driver has their own transponder, type it in here and set as default. And that way, every time they come back to your racetrack, they'll have this is the default. And when you click in this box, you'll see other things show up. Those are previous transponder numbers for that driver. Lineup override, pretty self-explanatory here. If the driver's electing to start at the back in the heat races, regardless of your lineup procedure, they say, I want to start in the back. They'll start in the back here. You can either do it for heats or all races, so features and everything right there. And then there's no reason to make a competitor inactive unless you're putting in entries before race day and you don't want the app to show who's going to be there until race day. Then you can go back and make them active on race day. But more often than not, you're checking people in at the back gate the day that you're racing, so it'll always be active for you. Perfect. We'll add that. I'm going to turn on speed entry for everyone else, just to save time. Okay. And I'll show you, for example, what the lineup override does. We'll have him starting at the back for all races. And we'll also show you, for example, what this looks like if there's a duplicate car number. This number is already taken. Duplicate car number, we're right there. Perfect, awesome, good, good, awesome. And we'll add that as well. You can see pill number was drawn for everybody. There's a pill number. We've got a couple that are pay owner by default. So that works out pretty great. This class is not currently active on your event. Well, that's going to be an issue. We'll make them active then. Perfect. Okay, so we've got our 10 cars entered. We're gonna have a 10-car race. We'll add our races here. We're gonna add two heat races, excuse me. They're gonna go 6 laps of distance, and we'll take the top 2 to tech. Perfect. Add our heat races. We'll add a feature event here. And, you know, I'll show you a B feature as well. B feature, we're gonna add 1 B feature. It'll be 5 laps. Take the top 2 to tech. I don't know why you would tech a B feature. You just bring them to the A feature anyway. You have to tech at least somebody. Okay. And then we will add an A feature as well. We'll add 1 A feature. It'll go 10 laps. We'll tech the top 5 and add. There we go. So this is largely where you start deciding what you want your race format to be. Let's see here. So you should probably, this is something that I definitely would advise to start filling in previous to race night, previous to your opening night, or previous to your races, just because you know what your format's going to be in advance. If you're deciding on what your format is going to be the night of the races, then like you're already behind, man. You got to know what that is going to be coming in. You can always come in here and add more heat races or remove heat races depending on car count, but it's just a good idea. If you're going to do a passing points lineup, you want to take the transfers instead of per race and make that to from group, because now we're grouping all of the heat races into one group and taking transfers that way. But in this case, we'll just leave it at per race. We're going to take the top, let's see how many cars. We have 10 cars, we'll have 5 cars in heat race to show you a B main. We'll take the top 3 from each heat to the B feature. We'll take the next, or top 3, excuse me, to the A feature, take the next all to the B feature. B feature will transfer, let's see, that'll be, let's see, 3, 6, that's 4 cars in the B. So we'll just take the top 2 to the A. And because we are a group of crazy people, I'm going to start the A main 3 wide. Is what we're going to do here. And those are what all those options mean. There we go. Jump to lineups. We're going to have our lineups be pretty simple here. But again, lineups are something that you're definitely going to have try to at least an idea of what you want to do before race night. If you're going to do passing points, what kind of passing points do you want to have? You know, the USMTS passing points, the ASCS, your own custom, whatever. If you're going to do a different way, you know, double heat race format, you know, let's ask questions about what double heat race format to use before you get to the race, things of that nature, and funnel those questions to me. That's what I'm here for. I'm the head of support here, so I definitely want to try to help out. We're, in this case, just going to keep it simple. Heat race from pill draw. We'll calculate those lineups. We've got 5 cars in each heat. You can see because independently of what the pill draw number was, because we had starting at the back for all races, that lineup override for Luke Sadoff, he's starting at the back. We'll save that as lineups. When you click Save as Lineups, that's what pushes that information to the app. Couple of options here. You can share the line, or you can share the lineups directly to social media here. You can produce a media format, which is good for copying and pasting into your post-race write-up if you've got a PR guy doing that. And then also the Go to Results tab. If you've got a driver over here and you don't want to do a lineup out of the box, select the race you want, click his name. You can also enter his number in this box. And then you can also click and drag as well to change the lineup order in this box as well. We're going to save those. We'll go to results. You'll get a lot more information about MRP Live, this button, and the Upload a File button when we do our tie-ins with Race Manager and Orbits. But if you've got it, either way, if you've got everything hooked up correctly, you'll be able to just click MRP Live, select the race, and it'll show up there for you by default. Race Manager also produces an Excel sheet. That's what this is for right here. You can upload an Excel sheet. Or if you hand score in Microsoft Word and you want to upload it in text, you just can paste in text right there as well. But if you have none of those things, you can add them a couple of different ways. Click on their name, type in their number, and hit enter. And we'll keep clicking on names. And then you can use this option here to click and drag up and down the order as well. This is also where you put DNF, DNS, DQ, black flag, or no passing points. If you got a passing points lineup and somebody elects to start at the tail, it's a good idea to not award them passing points that they technically shouldn't have deserved. Save as complete. We'll also push that information to the app. So that's how you do that. We'll jump down to heat race number 2 now. Save as complete. Perfect. We can go back to lineups. We'll calculate our lineups for our B main. We'll do it from the heat race straight up. Perfect. We've got our 4-card B main. We can save that. We can go to results. Save is completed there. Actually, I want to do this a little bit differently here. So you can see, because of where Luke Sadoff finished first in the B, he should not start tail end Charlie of the A main. But as we calculate the lineups, straight up from heats and Bs, he will still be starting last place because of that lineup override. My goodness, 3 wide looks different on here. Our 2 guards that didn't transfer from the B main are here. You can still manually add them if you want. So provisionals, mostly it's just easy to just manually add them to the tail. It's a lot easier that way. There's a couple of other lineup options that I want to show you. There's an invert. So if you want to invert the top 3, there it'll invert, in this case, the front row with the top 3. There's also a redraw option. So you can select the number of drivers that you want to redraw for the race, save that, and then you can either redraw them one at a time, redraw them all, or if they're drawing for numbers on the front stretch and the underside of a Frisbee or something, and they draw one at a time, you can also manually type this number in. There's actually a lot of series that I've worked for and with that will put this on Facebook Live, this screen. They'll Facebook Live this screen and allow their fans to see the redraw, in situations like that. That's kind of neat, maybe an idea for you. But we'll redraw everybody. We'll save that. And there we go. We've redrawn the top 6. After that, it works just the same in results. Put them in one at a time. Perfect. Everybody's good to go. There's a racing event in completion. Again, I'm going through this quickly so we can still ask some questions at the end. So I apologize for that. But the last step here will be points and pay. I did go through the settings on a previous session, a previous webinar. So when that's up on YouTube, you're going to want to check that out if you're looking at settings. But settings is where you go to have points and pay schemes built into the program, so you don't have to type it in on race night. In this case, I am going to type it in. So we'll just do manual entry here. But again, if you were to recalculate the points, you can select a scheme. And there's a number of global schemes built in, your IMCA points, your things of that nature here as well. Because I didn't choose an event that was part of the schedule that we created, you can't really see a great example here. But there are multiple, if you have multiple schedules in this season, all of the schedules will be listed right here. So you can select what schedule you want these points to apply to. And I got a question here actually in regards to that. You made a February series schedule earlier. Can you show how you can only give points to the February series but not affect the points for the season? So just exactly what I'm talking about here. If you want so if I had a second schedule here for that February special season, I could unselect this and select the February one. It would only apply to the February one, or you can select both. Or if it's a non-points event, like we talked about earlier, you would just select no schedules, and then the points wouldn't apply anywhere to anything if you're doing non-points. But in this case, we'll keep it right here. We'll put in our points. This is where it's nice to have a scheme because, man, at the end of the race night, I've typed up my PR read. It's 1 in the morning. Everybody's gone. They've turned the lights off. I'm the only one left. I sure don't want to have to sit here and type in, if I got 24 cars, 24 different things for points and pay. With this many, it's not a huge deal, but, we can – it's a good idea to have a scheme in advance just to save yourself some time at the end of the race night. That will be our points structure for the night. Our pay, we actually have a scheme for pay built in. I don't know how that happened, but it's for zero. Nobody makes any money. Sucks for you guys. We'll give the winner $100 and call it good. You can put every race that you run in a race night, you have the option to add points and pay for. So you can pay out points in the B main for things like the non-transfer cars. For the heat races, if you want to give somebody heat race points or pay, basically everything like that, show up points and pay. You can do it however you'd like that way. And we'll save that. Perfect. And then the very last step at the end of the night, after you've done all of those things, you hit this Create Payments button. And that Create Payments button will allow you to, again, verify that everything's correct, verify that you're paying the owners, and print the checks. So if you want to print checks through MyRacePass, you can as well. So you can create checks right here, the check layout that you want to use, the starting check number, and you can print checks right here as well. Or you can also print a finish report or mailing labels. Mailing labels comes in handy at the end of the year for things like taxes. And you can also export this information to QuickBooks for the money as well. So those are the things that you can do here. But pressing that Create Payments button is important because that's also what pushes the data from your race night to our 1099 report. The 1099 report will show you in one sheet everybody who got paid on the season. So whether that's a driver or an owner, whoever it is, their address, as long as you filled in the address so they've registered, and then also how much money they've made as long as it was more than $600. So you can export that into Excel right from our report screen. You can take the Social Security numbers that you've gathered elsewhere, assuming they're in Excel as well. You can put those two things together, and you can do 1099s that way. We don't gather Social Security number information, but if you hit Create Payments at the end of every night and you export that information that way, you can have everything else you need other than Social Security number. It'd be great if Create Payments had car numbers also. Yes, it would. I have mentioned that before. I'll put that onto development, though. The racetracks are requesting that this Create Payment screen also has car numbers. I believe the reasoning for that in the past is that, the owner information, they don't want to muddy it up. But frankly, I think they should. And that's something that we'll definitely look at moving forward. So that was a race night. That was a race night from start to finish. Entering drivers, heat races, features, creating payments, doing all that stuff. And those are all the things to look for. We've got a couple of minutes here. I'm willing to stay on a little bit long to answer questions before I, get ready for our 7:30 session here. But after all that stuff, does anybody have any questions that they want to shout out? Feel free to unmute, shout out if you got any questions here, and we can, have 10 minutes of questions here before we wrap up. Can you drop a class if you need to after you create a race? Yes, you can. So if we're going to use that 5-1 event as an example here, here's our 5-1 event. If I go find that in season management, and I believe that was in 2021. So if I go find that in season management, 5-1 event, there it is, and I decide, this class isn't going to run that night anymore, I make it inactive, I save, and now when I go through starting the race night, that class will no longer be available to enter drivers or whatever else. If you already have entries, it'll still show, but it just won't be active in the app. Fans won't be able to see it in the app or anything like that. So that's how you do that. Reorder the nightly race schedule. So an order of events. Colby, it's something that we are looking at, and frankly, I think it'll be in our next round of updates. I don't know if that'll be in time for this season. But we want to find a way to have an imported order, or have an order of events imported so we can print them off in the right order. Makes it a little easier, especially for heat race time. Yeah, that's feedback that we've gotten in the past, and we get a lot of feedback, and we do what we can every year in terms of implementing new features, because we really try to have all of our new features implemented in the winter time, so we're not adding or changing things during the race season to confuse people from week to week. We get as much as we possibly can in these few short months. And that's something that we're still definitely trying to look at here, as to trying to get in as soon as we can, whether that's this year or it's going to have to wait. I'm not 100% sure. I can't comment on that because, frankly, things always change in the development world and technology. But it's definitely something we're looking at for sure. Odd, even heats. Do you mean like running double heat races, double heat race format? So the drivers are running like 2 heat races in the same night, or what do you mean by odd, even heats? And Colby, if this is something that you want to reach out to me directly, fast, slow heat races and putting the fast qualifier in heat 2, not heat 1. Yeah, let me do some looking at that independently. That's not like a 4-minute question here. Send me an email regarding that, and I'll get back to you in that email and see what the best course of action for that particular issue is. You can reach me at austin.lloyd@myracepass.com. And anybody, if you find 10 minutes from now, oh, I should have asked about this, send it austin.lloyd@myracepass.com, or you can send it to our support inbox. That's just support@myracepass.com, and I or somebody will get back to you as soon as we are able. with the webinars going on and a couple of people out, just frankly, we're doing all we can to keep up with support season, you know, as much as we possibly can. So, you know, I'm hoping that I can get to him tomorrow, but I'll get to him as soon as I possibly can. If that's all we got for questions, guys, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your night. I know with families and, you know, afternoons, especially with the nice weather we're having, at least in Iowa, it's tough to do this stuff. So I definitely appreciate the time. If you are a Wissota racetrack, send me an email, austin.lloyd@myracepass.com, or again, you can send it to support@myracepass.com, with your name, the track that you're with, and then we'll send that information to Callie, so she knows that you were, you know, in this webinar, because I know that they require a certain number of year for the MyRacePass, for the Wissota promoters, excuse me. And I'm supposed to have a code word, and frankly, I'm like really thirsty, so the code word's going to be Dasani. Send me that code word. They did not pay me for that plug, and we can go from there. Until then, there's going to be a new link at 7:30. So go back to the join webinar page. There's going to be a new link for the 7:30 session, and we'll reconvene at that point. So thank you, everybody.